You're on Miss Shadowland here on Joy 94.9 with me, Katie Purvis, and my wonderful guest, Joe Pug from Maryland and in the USA. Joe, your new album, The Flood in Colour, is, as I said, a collection of songs that are mostly very, very short, or they're all very short when you consider that a lot of songs these days go for 4 minutes or more, which, you know, is fine.
Yeah.
But a short song, I often describe albums and songs like that as little jewels.
Sure.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you about a couple of them. The title track first.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about? I want you to tell me what it's about and see if I'm right.
What is it about? I can't come out and just tell you what it's about. It's clearly not how it works. No, I mean, I have an idea of what it's about,
yeah.
Of course. But I don't like to... If it is vague, it's been purposely
You want
left
people
vague.
to make it.
I want them to hang their own memories inside of it,
Fair
not
enough.
my memories.
But it's a great phrase, the flood in colour.
Thank you.
How did you get that?
It came to me right before I fell asleep.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
I don't often. Normally, I get inspiration by just putting my butt in a chair and making myself work.
Yeah.
I'm not like. I don't need to like drive to a cliff with a sunset going, down and on a bunch of drugs to feel inspired. That's not my vibe. But
it's okay. It's okay if that's your vibe.
It's
just not.
I frankly, I wish it was my vibe, but it's just not. I don't typically find inspiration in unexpected places, but in this particular case, I was going to sleep at night. I was sleeping on the couch because I have two really young kids and stuff is just chaos in the house, and I'm falling asleep by myself on the couch to get a few winks. And right before I passed out, that phrase, the flood in color, came into my mind. And I faced the predicament that a lot of writers face when you're falling asleep and you have an idea where it's like, you think to yourself, oh, I'll remember it in the morning. And I said, no, man, you're not going to remember it in the morning. Or if you do remember it, it's just going to be slightly different. And even if it's slightly different than this, like the flood of color, it just doesn't work. So I had to drag my butt off the couch and find a scrap of paper, and I'm glad that I did because it gave me an album title.
Right, yeah. Well, I'll tell you that from it I took some climate change ideas. I think it's very much on my mind and a lot of people's minds in Australia, because we've just been having these dreadful bushfires that are unprecedented. And of course, Australia is sometimes known as a land of fire and flood.
Sure.
Because at the same time, at opposite ends of the country, we can have horrible bushfires and horrible floods.
Yeah.
So for me, some of the song was about that's coming.
Well, I'll say this, is that I would not disagree that the song is about a reckoning.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Interesting. Another song that I'd like to talk about, and which I think you're going to play for us, which is exciting, is called The Letdown. We're coming up to Christmas. Mm-hmm. This one mentions Christmas lights, so I might put it in a Christmas show that I'm programming, which is good.
All right.
But there's an intriguing line in this, do you see my colours now?
Mm-hmm. So
we're back at colour, so we've got the flood in colour, and now this is do you see my colours now? Do you want to maybe comment about that?
Well, so this is where I think... This is what I think is valuable about an album process, and as we move farther and farther away from that, and we're just releasing singles to Spotify and stuff like that, which I think is great.
Yeah.
I think streaming is awesome. I think more ways for more people around the world to access music is a net positive.
Yeah.
One of the things that's happening with that medium, though, is we're tending to move away from the album format.
Yeah.
Because people tend not to listen to the whole album, and also because it's expensive to produce an entire album.
Yeah.
Especially if you're, this label is my own label, so every musician that came in to play on the album, I paid myself.
Mm-hmm.
The pressing of the record, the publicist, everything. It's expensive to make an album. That being said, what you do get out of it is you get a collection of songs that start to interweave with one another in a way that was not premeditated usually. And so there's a lot of imagery in this album about floods. There's a lot of imagery in this album about color, and none of that was premeditated. It was just a writing process that happened for 2 years, and I watched it emerge on its own and take on a life of its own, and I felt less like the author of it and more of like a caretaker or a custodian.
Yeah. That's fascinating. Again, I as regular listeners know, I work in publishing and I edit books, and although I don't edit fiction, I edit non-fiction, but in a fiction book, I think that a lot of writers would say something similar happens. They'll be writing away and they'll just be channeling whatever, and then they'll read it and they'll notice that there are themes.
Yes.
So yeah, similar. So will you play the Letdown for us now?
I sure will.
Fantastic. You're listening to Miss Chatelaine, and this is Joe Park live in the Joy Studio.
The night's so long, you can almost hear it groan. The night's so long, you can almost hear it groan. And we walk so far that our shadows turn to stone. It was a wretched room, but we hung up Christmas lights. It was a wretched room, but we hung up Christmas lights. And the girls played house while the neighbors froze outside. Brace yourself for the letdown. The Holy Ghost with his hands out. No peace on earth is cheaply found. Do you see my colors now? She had long black hair, and you bought everything she sold. She had long black hair, and you bought everything she sold. And she taught you the fine points of doing just as you were told. Brace yourself for the letdown. The Holy Ghost with his hands out. No peace on earth is cheaply found. Do you see my colors now? Do you see my colors now?
Beautiful, beautiful. That's Joe Park live in the